We are here today to celebrate the publication of When the Smoke Clears, Voices from the Heart of Black Saturday by Rick Wall and Cameron Caine. And I have Cameron Caine here with me. Cameron, congratulations. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jess. Nervous to see where it goes, but yeah, it's just really looking forward to the whole experience.
Yeah, terrific. For our viewers, I'm going to read out your bio and then I'm going to start asking you some questions. When the Smoke Clears was written by Rick Wall with Cameron Caine OAM with a foreword by Shane Warne. And journalist Rick Wall spent 3 decades in the media industry, most notably with Melbourne radio stations and as a researcher for ABC TV Current Affairs in Sydney. When Black Saturday unfolded in 2009, Rick was semi-retired. Chosen by AFL Victoria to help rebuild Kinglake's football and netball club, Rick grew close to many of the locals and donated his time to write the stories of the Caine and Buchanan families. Cameron Caine OAM joined Victoria Police in 1999 and served in various stations before transferring to Kinglake, where he was one of only 2 local police officers on duty on Black Saturday. Throughout his career, he was honoured with several awards, including the Medal of the Order of Australia and the Victoria Police Valour Award, before retiring in 2019 due to PTSD. He is still involved with the Kinglake Football Netball Club. Cameron, could you please tell viewers about your book?
The book is myself and Ross sort of intertwined in different scenarios and different things during and after Black Saturday. We were approached by Rick Wall if we'd like to put pen to paper, and more, I suppose, therapeutically. So we did. We both put down 20 to 30,000 words on paper, and off Rick went. And what he's written down is not just the bushfire as such, but an individual journey of 2 different stories of loss of unfortunately loved ones, and also on the other side is myself in the emergency services and as someone who worked the fires, how that affected other people. So it's an interesting story on both sides, I think, and I think the way Rick has written it and captured it in the book is quite touching.
Yeah. And can you walk us through what happened on Black Saturday for you personally?
Yeah, it was a strange day on cold old Kinglake, being 46 for the first time ever. Just in the morning, like myself with the air conditioners not working, went to my parents' house, and the heat was just strange. The week building up to it, everyone was on and off the mountain. So I suppose because it was a Saturday, everyone stayed home, put the blinds down, put the air conditioners on, and watched telly, which we all did. Looking to the west, we saw the smoke rise from the Kilmore fires, and again, where we are, it's usually comes from the north, which is Murrindindi, a highly bush area, not from the south.
Mm.
We kept tabs on it, and knowing that I had to go to work that night, I contacted at work and spoke to Roger Wood, and he said, look, it's pretty bad over Kilmore way, but there's also a fire started in Murrindindi, which is north to us, which the northerly wind would push down onto the Kinglake area. So the day was just getting hotter and hotter and windier with the smoke building. You could see that. So again, I suppose not complacent, but where they were, it wasn't a big issue at that time in the Kinglake area.
Mm.
But around 5 o'clock, I decided I'd have a shower and head off to work to see how things were going. I contacted Roger again. He said the Murrindindi fire is getting bigger, and he had to shoot that way. So I decided to go to work early. Mm. And when I left the house, the sky was like a bubbly grey. And I drove up to work, and it's only a 9-kilometre travel for me across the top of the mountain. And what I thought was the sunset was actually a flicker of flame, which really surprised me because on the top of the hill, looking down towards Melbourne, which you can see the city and everything, it was still quite a bluish sky and a nice day at that point.
Mm.
But from arriving at the police station, kitting up and contacting Roger, who was at Kinglake West, and then driving down to Kinglake West in my own car, within 15 minutes, that changed to something that was the best way I could describe it after seeing it come and go would be what I think Hiroshima would be like.
So scary.
20 minutes. And it was just, yeah, again, but then you look at the way the fire came across the bottom of the mountains to the south, and then when the southerly kicked in, which is usually a wet southerly, high southerly, it just pushed a fire that had a small front heading towards the east, all of a sudden opened up the whole mountains with a big wall of flame and pushed straight up with a southerly wind.
So when faced by that, what did you do next?
We seek shelter, I suppose, at the Pheasant Creek milk bar because we couldn't go any further into Kinglake. And at that stage, I remember saying to my wife and contacting her, get into Kinglake, the power's on, the TV's on, get into the police station, it'll be safe. But trying to get back to Kinglake, we hit a wall of smoke and flames, and the last thing I can remember is telling them to head that way. So we stopped at the Pheasant Creek store, and there was just cars piling into the car park there. There would have been 30 to 40 cars, and it was getting darker, and the sound of jet engines was starting to come because just on the side of the road was a huge big pine plantation. The other side of the road, we had a petrol bowser with a milk bar, and there was 40-odd cars all in this area. And it was at that stage I saw Laura and Angus and Harry come up over the hill in the car, so I knew they were safe.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from Roger saying, get him down to Kinglake West. So we pushed on and we got the 40 cars out of there. But at that stage, it was black as midnight. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and I couldn't hear myself. And as the cars were leaving, there was a young fella in a van, and I said he couldn't go anywhere until I jumped in the car with him because we were the last to go. And as we took off, the sides of the road started to ignite. And as we took off, I got down the road and looked back, and you could see the bus shelter on the pine plantation side, the flames going over that. So I think we just got out of there in time. But the noise would vibrate through your body. That I can remember, it was just black. It was like midnight. The shirts were just flapping on the body, and the noise of the pine plantation exploding and the intense roar was something I've never, ever, ever heard, and I hope I don't hear again.
Yeah, I can imagine. My gosh. There's a lot of really difficult memories to confront in the things that you've lived through. Why did you make the decision to publish a book about the events of Black Saturday?
I just think, especially after dealing with the football club after that, personally, just the being there, I suppose running around, keeping fit and playing, I could feel that it was mentally good for me. And then I could see that the crowd were there not to watch the football because they were forced off the mountain to rent elsewhere. During the week, they weren't seeing their neighbour. They weren't seeing the locals. So Saturdays with the football, they'd all come up. They wouldn't watch football, which was grouse. They were meeting with friends and neighbours, and the place took off. And for women, they speak. They speak to doctors, they speak to friends. Men don't, and it showed in the football club. But it was just being able to maybe have a quiet beer with someone. We put a sportsman's night with Jason McCartney, who went through the Bali bombing. We said it was a sportsman's night, not a therapeutic night, but it ended up that way. And it was just, you could just see how important that was. So with this book, with my side and Ross's side, it just shows how important it is for men to speak. Because, look, I suppose I come across as a burly sort of a bloke, and Ross is a blokey bloke, and we'd never speak about it, but by writing it down and we're sharing how we felt, how he felt, how I felt, PTSD has got me. I think it's just so important that it's all right to talk, because I don't think I would be here sitting speaking to you if you didn't speak.
Yeah. Can you tell viewers a bit more about Ross Buchanan?
Yes, Ross Buchanan is a local pump bloke. He 4 children living in National Park Road with his wife Beck, and Beck was on the committee for the Country Music Festival in Whittlesea that they had annually, and it was on that day. So Beck went down early in the morning to organise and just keep an eye out down there. So Ross had the 4 kids, took one to work up in Kinglake, and if in the past, if there was any issues, Ross was to take all the kids to the in-laws' house, which is in the main, just behind the main street of Kinglake, deemed as a safe residence. And on the day, Ross took one of his young blokes to work, and then noticed that the fire was on its way. So he took his family up to the father-in-law and mother-in-laws in Kinglake. And then Ross went back to the house to look after the house. And everyone knows Ross and Beck and the kids. They all went to primary school up here. They're a well-known family. Ross has got his music, his band, and everyone's got water pumps up here, so everyone knows Ross the pump bloke. Real character and a good.
But the fire. He lost 2 children in the fire.
Yes. He unfortunately later that afternoon, I was walking back into the car park of the Kinglake West CFA after looking for kids in the primary school. And it's at that time I come around and found my wife Laura was embraced with Ross, who is not in a good way. It's at that time that he informed us that Beck had rang and said that we'd lost young Eve and Macca and Beck's brother in a house in Reserve Road in Kinglake. And at that time, we were hearing different stories about what was happening at Kinglake. I suppose we couldn't fathom that would happen in the first place. So it was there and then we thought, well, we've got to get Ross down to Beck. And we were lucky that 2 police officers came downtown and they were saying, we're looking for the Kinglake coppers. Apparently they're perished. And I said, well, you must be looking at ghosts, because that's Roger and myself. But at that stage, I said, look, can you please get this gentleman down to Whittlesea to his wife? And the talk is that he's lost his children. It wasn't long after that Roger and myself got some CFA trucks together, and we decided to try and get into Kinglake and see what the devastation is. We're hearing all different stories, what was there, what was gone, and look, fast forwarding it with Ross returning home to his house still standing. 5 perished in the house in Reserve Road. And again, we sort of go back to that night. His mother-in-law was badly burnt, and it was herself and another lady that Roger and myself and another police car took down to Whittlesea. And then we found that twin sisters from across the road had tried to seek shelter in the house as well. So 5 perished in that house. And unfortunately, it was, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning was the first call for to, I suppose, start looking. And it was 1 Reserve Road. Myself and the Sarge, who come on duty at about 8 o'clock, that was the first house I started searching. And by 11 o'clock, I had located 11 bodies. And unfortunately, the first couple were Reserve Road. So a lot of them were who I knew. That's the fun and the joy, I suppose, of being a local police officer in Kinglake, working there for 17 years.
You know everyone that you're interacting with. Yes. Yeah. Just
and the hardest part was the kids.
If
it's an adult or 20 and above, they've had a bit of a life and
Yeah, it's the worst imaginable thing, and the grief is just, it's hard to even and yeah, what you've gone through must have been awful. The community really rallied together after this, didn't they?
Oh, the community were just absolutely amazing. And to this day, I would still say the best day after the fires in relation to the way things were ran and organisation was that Sunday. There was no one up there. The locals just started bringing like small things from their freezer because there was no power. They were bringing meat to the CFA. They'd cook it all for everybody. Everyone was looking after everyone, and we just slowly went through different things. And the community was, I just, as the police officer and people coming up to me, what do we do? I just can't thank the community as a whole. And
Amazing. Shane Warne also lent his help. Can you tell us about that? First, he wrote the foreword, but how did he come to sort of have involvement with the community?
Amazing gentleman. He came to Whittlesea to come up and just meet people and be there and see what he could do. And it was at that time that he ran into young Aidan. And I think the first couple of words were that he lost his brother and sister. And Shane, I think at that stage, made a pact that he was going to look after Aidan and just support him and support the family, the Buchanan family. And as Shane always said, it doesn't matter with all the money in the world, all the people that know him, it's just a matter of time. Like, it's just time spent with these people that's cherished. And he did exactly that. He went to a skating day in memory of Macca. He came up to the football club a couple of times, and he was just there. As not as a superstar, not as a cricketer.
He asked the media. He didn't he ban the media from it coming. He just wanted to do it quietly.
Yes, yeah. Same with our speak before the grand final day. He come up on the Thursday night at the pub, and after a while, I said, "Mate, thank you for your time." He goes, "No, I'm here for the night. Like, I'm here for you boys." Like, he come and watched the game over at Belgrave, and he said to people, "I'm just here to watch." I've got photos of him playing football with my young bloke Harry. I just can't, put words out there what type of a gentleman he was.
He was, yeah. And when asked to write the foreword for the book, of course, some years ago, he happily obliged, and it's a beautiful foreword.
Yes, and it's beautiful words. And we were absolutely touched and besotted that he would do the foreword.
Yeah, there's some nice photos too in the book.
Yes.
Now you experienced PTSD as a result of the fires, and I know it can be very difficult to talk about PTSD. But is there something that people who are also, they have loved ones who are experiencing it, or they think they might, but they're not sure? Could you give any insights into what it's like to have PTSD?
It's weird. I was just getting angry. I was so angry. I was ready for impact all the time. It was like the fight and flight scenario you have when there's threats. Well, I was stuck in fight 24 hours a day, and just angry. And it wasn't until years and years later, I was going to work on a Sunday, and Laura came to me and said, "Look, we're scared of you. The kids are scared of you. You're just angry." And that Monday, I thought, right, I'm going to the doctors. And he put me onto psych, and the rest is history. I suppose coming to grip with why you're angry and why you're on edge all the time was just the bucket was full. I continued on for another 10 years from the police force at King Lake, and just it got to me after the last body I went to. I can't do it. Still seeing the psych. We decided to go and see Arthur Valakoulis in Melbourne. Done course. Booked in there, and it was the very first day. We sat in there and we had a professor come in and talk about the brain and things. And it wasn't there until then where they described that the different areas of the brain can swell and different chemicals can not be produced, I suppose, because of stress in the brain. Like my memory is completely gone, and that's due to just swelling of different areas.
Wow.
I wanted to go on medication. As they were saying, it's like if your heart's starting to get clogged, you take cholesterol tablets. This is not doing a chemical thing, so you replace it with the chemicals. It's been 7 years since I left the police force. It's been 7 years of hard work, just monitoring myself, stop from getting angry, and shopping centres and a lot of people I struggle with. I'm always looking for an exit point, I suppose, and if there's quick movements, it's things like that. What I miss the most is, and I suppose a lot of emergency services would be the same, is innocence. You see some people, it's like, even just last week, my son was asked to do jury duty, and there was different things. And I said, so what did the bad guys look like? And he said, just like normal people. I said, right. I miss innocence. I miss thinking that there was no evil people. I miss not having to see, perished people and things like that. But that was the job I did. I loved every minute. I still reckon it's probably the best job I've ever had. But yeah, it's a confusing illness because it's hard to explain in different people. A lot of different people's thinks is I'm not overly worried about having my back to doors, but I know that other people just refuse it or sit in the corner so they can see. It's a fight and flight thing, I think, for me, and I know a lot of other people.
Yeah, it can manifest in different ways. Yeah. And was your sleep disrupted?
Massively, even from the first nights, waking up thinking that I was sleeping next to bodies, but it was Laura, to waking up smelling smoke, and it was summertime. Yeah, just little weird thing. Even driving my own car around, you think, oh, the police radio. So it's just amazing how the mind thinks. But it was amazing on the Wednesday after the fires, the police welfare came up to the police station. We got in the back of a semi-trailer, and they sat us all down. They said, right, this is what's going to happen. You're going to see things. You're going to hear things. Your body's going to do weird things. Your brain's going to do weird things to try and get back to normality through what you've seen and what you've done.
Yeah.
But listen to your body. And I think that was the best advice I ever got, because after a couple of months, I'm thinking, well, what's going on? This is not supposed to happen. This is that's them. I remember them saying.
Because you were hallucinating as well, weren't you?
I remember sitting down and seeing this little girl look up to me as if she was looking at a policeman, and it was during tea, and no one else saw her. And I thought, this is the flashback thing. I don't know. And it was, and after that, right up until when I finished work, I had little jigsaw pieces I was putting back together. Where did this little girl come into from the night? Look, even trying to search out that jigsaw puzzle, I went to a church in Brunswick who are like palm readers and things like that, and I sat down with them. So it was I found it a very interesting journey, because I thought of it as a jigsaw puzzle piece and putting it all into the perspective of why I'm thinking this way. Yeah.
Gosh. And by putting it into book form, I think it allows others to, you're a witness to this, and then other people can understand what you went through, and if they're suffering something similar, then maybe they can seek help.
Oh, definitely, because like even writing it down was so therapeutic. I remember sitting in the back of the house and just sitting there and just write. I wrote it all by hand. I typed it out, but just so therapeutic. And then as I've found that the more I speak about what's happened on the night, and I speak to doctors and things like that, it's refreshing, and you can feel the weight lift. And and that's what happened with the guys at the football club. Like even 2 years after it, still being a policeman in King Lake, you could see the people that I knew were at the football club for the last 2 years were so far advanced mentally and happy than the people that didn't and stayed home and did different things. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. How did it work in terms of working with Rick Wall? So you and Ross wrote the 20,000 words and then you gave it to him, and then what happened?
We continued working with Rick, but also I suppose we had that much faith in Rick and just the person that he is. We said, go away and see what you can do. And he sent back a copy, and yeah, it brought tears to my eye. I was absolutely amazed. And the way he's put it together is perfect. Like,
yeah, he's talented.
I've read it and I'm right back on that street. I'm right back in amongst that. Just reading it, and yeah, I'm so glad we did, Rick.
Yeah, he's a champion.
He is, and a lovely man to boot.
Yeah, he sure is. If there was a message that readers took away from your book, what might it be?
To be honest, there's two. The first one, honestly, is only because I suppose lived it and been with Ross. A lot of the population have said, did you lose a house? And there was a lot of that about. I didn't have survivor's guilt as well. So, but you forget about the harder issues like loss, family, and individuals, what they went through on the night. It's not only the material stuff that goes, if you know what I mean. So that was a big one. But also, I suppose, again, just how important it is to talk and speak. Doesn't matter whether it might be just from a car accident that you're not feeling right, but it's so important because different things affect different people. And as you can see with this book, there are two different, I suppose. I've got survivor's guilt, and then you've got Ross, who had the biggest, and Beck, who had the biggest loss that any parent.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe there's going to be an ABC documentary. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes. I actually did a podcast with Narelle Fraser, and also ABC. Listen to it, and it's the documentary series. I was there. I seen that.
Yep.
And yeah, I spoke to that, and that's due out in October sometime.
Exciting. That's great. That will can be shared with a wider audience.
Yes. So it's again, it's getting it out there. Guys, get out there and speak. It's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. What does life look like for Cameron Caine now? What is next for you?
Quietness. I've gone from a plumber to a policeman to almost politician, and now I'm a pensioner. So I've gone through the P's. So life now is constant monitoring of myself, of where I'm at and what I'm doing, even driving and get angry. Smelling the roses, and to be honest, trying to get empathy back. As I suppose any emergency service, people would say you lose your empathy straight away. I unfortunately have lost my empathy.
Is it a protective mechanism because you're witnessing a lot of loss and pain and stuff? Is that a protective barrier that?
Yep. And it's just not taking things personal. I knew people used to abuse me only because of the clothes that I wore, like the uniform. So it never really fazed me. So you just learn to switch off. It's
also a degree of professionalism as well, because you can't have an emotional reaction. You have to stay calm and keep functioning.
That's
so
right.
The loss then is empathy.
Yes, and then the family cop it as well, and family, friends. That's my aim. Lucky enough, a couple of years ago, I got myself a Irish Wolfhound Cross, and Dave, and he is my man. He's done wonders for me, and I can see why people get dogs and use them. I took him to training for the PTSD training,
Yeah.
I sort of changed at about 12. He's a little bit scared, so he's hopeless outside with amongst people like me. But
Oh,
he's been an amazing addition to my circle.
it's
And
beautiful.
dogs are just incredible invention.
Yeah, they are. I love horses too. I can
Yes.
understand why they're very therapeutic. Yeah. And your wife Laura has been outstanding all along the way with publishing. It's been a trio, hasn't it? The three of us.
Yes. Laura, I can't imagine being without Laura. Like,
Mm.
I can only imagine what she had to live with me after the fires, and supporting me right through. Like, yeah, just amazing. The support.
Yeah. She's a lovely person. You're a lovely family, and it's been wonderful to work with you, Cameron, and with Rick as. So, congratulations on publishing When the Smoke Clears. I hope that it will be widely read across Australia and also in your local community. Have you got any events or talks that you're going to do in the local community?
Yeah, we're looking at doing a bit of a book launch up here in Kinglake. Like talking to Rick, I think we might wait till about October after the
After the
documentary comes
documentary.
out. Then yeah, we'll look at doing something. And yeah, definitely, because I personally would like to see Rick Wall's work out there. He's done a magnificent job. He's captured it perfectly. I would like to see his efforts.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Cameron, for talking to us, and well
No,
done.
thank you, Jess. Thank you for everything. You're an absolutely amazing company, and you've gone above and beyond. We really appreciate your time, and thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Jess.